Welcome to the Sun today for the 2nd of March 2025. We have more coronal holes appearing. More on that later. I would classify today's activity as quiet. Although the sunspot number is now up to 155, that's still lower than it was at this time last rotation. We have 3 new numbered sunspot regions. Flare activity is about the same as yesterday, 9 C flares, no M flares, but there were more coronal mass ejections. There were 11 in total. The solar wind speed has dropped to below 450 kilometers per second. Let's take a quick look at the sunspots that are on the Sun today. There were 13 sunspot regions, 3 of which were new. That's 4011, 12 and 13, all near the southeast limb. Also, the sunspot area was slightly up at about 520 millionths of the Sun's surface. An old friend is returning. If you look at the left-hand side of this picture, the eastern side of this picture, you see there's a large dark area. That is the coronal hole that plagued us last month, and it looks as though it's coming back. We'll have to wait for a couple of days to see its extent. It looks as though it crosses the equator, so when it's at the right longitude, which is probably in about a week's time, the Earth will be in its cone of influence. Geospace has been rather quiet. The KP index, a measure of how disturbed the magnetosphere is, has been dropping from levels of about 3 to 1, whereas just a few days ago they were up around about 5. Solar wind speed has dropped also down to about 450 kilometers per second, and all of this lack of activity is reflected in the auroral arc shown on the right here, which looks even weaker than it did yesterday. The X-ray sun, a measure of how active the Sun is, has also been relatively quiet. You can see we have a few minor C flares, but nothing major, and also the background has now dropped to about the equivalent of a C1 flare, where it was up around about C2 yesterday. While CME activity was up somewhat from before, we'll show you a movie of that right now. Let's try our luck making a forecast. The sunspot number is rising. Whether that will continue to do so depends on how those new regions react. If they stable or decay, then the sunspot number will go down. Flare activity will remain low unless one of those regions starts to grow really rapidly and produce some big flares. Solar wind speed is dropping, and I see no reason for it to increase until that coronal hole that I mentioned today will reach the western hemisphere of the Sun. So that's at least another week away. So as a result of all that, I don't expect any geomagnetic storms. Once again, thank you for listening. If you enjoy these videos, please pass them on to friends or neighbors or relations who you think might benefit from understanding more about how the Sun works. And so until next time, stay safe and goodbye.